Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. It's Constance the Reader, and today we're going to be doing a book tag. So we're going to be doing the book recommendation tag. I'll put all the information down below, questions, original creator, all that good stuff in the description box. I figured, you know what, beside me is a stack of things that I have to haul. Every month is becoming a month where I'm doing a haul video, so I really need to spice things up for y'all. So without further ado, let's get into it. Question 1, a book you tell people is your favorite. This isn't necessarily a hard question to answer. It's more like, I feel like anytime someone asks me this in the real world, I get like a blank in my mind, and like I could very well name anything. But when thinking of this question, I have to say Feed by Mira Grant is one of my favorite books, and it's one of my favorite series. I recommend Mira Grant, who some people on booktube or in the bookish community also know as Seanan McGuire. I also like those books, but I prefer Mira Grant because it's more adult sci-fi horror. That's what I prefer. And I haven't read every single book that Mira Grant has written, but the majority of the ones I've written under Mira Grant are adult sci-fi horror, mostly horror. This is really good. I love this series so much. I remember reading this for the first time, and it was such a great experience. And I don't think I had read many books like this at the time. As I was just starting to get into reading, it was around the time I started watching booktube, and this, delicious, beautiful, awesome. The first book in general is so good. I could not recommend this more. Read this, please, if you haven't. And I know I talk about it many times in many other videos, but I'm not lying when I say this book is good. Question 2, a book that is your guilty pleasure. Now, this is just a coincidence, y'all. Guilty pleasures. So Laurel K. Hamilton, the Anita Blake series in general is like my guilty pleasure, right? So I read this when I was very young, probably was a little bit too young to be reading this when I did, but the first few books in the Anita Blake series are some of my favorites. I would reread this series constantly since, I started. I won't say that it's good. I refuse to tell you that. It has many, many flaws. As time progresses, as Laurel K. Hamilton is writing the Anita Blake series, things become more problematic. Things become to be too much. So I don't read anything new in the Anita Blake series, but these first few books, probably like the first 10 books, I really, really enjoyed, and I would recommend. Question 3, a book everybody loved and you didn't. So in the past, I've always said one book, and it reigns supreme every time, and that is Red, White, and Royal Blue. A lot of people really loved that book. I personally didn't really enjoy it. But a more recent book that I know a lot of people have enjoyed, they also enjoyed the anime, and it just wasn't for me, is Fruits Basket. Didn't hate this. Definitely not saying that I hate it, but it just wasn't for me. I didn't really like it all that much. I don't know what it was, but I definitely felt like I was trudging to finish this, and after I was done, I realized, I'm probably never going to collect any more volumes of Fruits Basket and read it. Hey, maybe I will watch the anime. We'll see. I'm starting to finally get back into watching anime again, but Fruits Basket, it's definitely this one. I'm sorry. Question 4, a book you read the fastest. So, Secret Santa, I read this in a day. Now, it's a short book, so you would say, okay, that's obviously you could read that in a day, but I read this in a day during work. So for my job, I travel to different stores, so I actually worked pretty late that day, and I sat in the parking lot outside of a closed store finishing Secret Santa because it was so hard for me to put this down. So to me, this was a really good holiday themed horror book. I read this a few years ago when I finally was like, I realized I don't read Christmas horror or Christmas romance. I want to make a point to do that, and I liked Secret Santa, so I would recommend this book. I've read other things by Andrew Schaefer, but they weren't Christmas horror. They weren't horror at the time. But this one, I think it was pretty good. I would recommend. And another one that I finished very quickly and stayed up very late finishing was Five Dark Fates by Kendar Blake. So this was the final book in the Three Dark Crowns series. I know that this series isn't for everybody, but during the time, I was really, really loving the YA kind of supernatural fantasy sci-fi situation that was going on here. Okay, I couldn't put this down. I am a grandmother when it comes to sleeping at night. I tuck myself in early. Let's just leave it at that. I stayed up till 5 o'clock in the morning finishing this book. I could not put it down. I genuinely love this series, and this is another one I would recommend to people for sure. Like, I don't know, it was just so good to me. I love the characters, I love the premise, and I even read the novellas. Like, I was all about this. So yes, I read this very fast and I stayed up late doing it. Question 5, a book you think deserves more hype. So I have a few answers for this one. So first and foremost, Akame ga Kill. I think that this manga deserves more hype, especially the prequel. If you like the anime, you will really, really like the manga. I just have to say that. It's just that good. There's things that happen in this that didn't get a chance to be in the anime. Certain relationships that actually happened. I loved it. Friendships, backstories. Some of it you didn't get the full picture in the anime. And then you have the prequel where you see Kurume and Akame when they are working for the government before Akame joins the rebel group. So in my opinion, I don't feel like this gets enough hype, and this is no judgment to anyone, but whenever I watch people's like manga hauls or their manga collections, I don't see Akame ga Kill, and it's okay. You don't have to have it in your collection if you don't want to, but I feel like it's one that is worth the hype, and I do think that I'm surprised more people don't have it in their collection, because I think the series is fantastic. Next up is A Women's War. So I read this a few years ago. I read it probably a year, maybe a year and a half after it released. First of all, this got me out of my reading slump. It also got me back into reading some longer adult fantasy books, because this is like 500 pages. And I had kind of been turned off by adult fantasy for a while. Nothing bad. It's just that I was reading so much of it, and yeah, I just wasn't in the mood anymore. This got me back into it. And then when I went and I was on booktube at the time, I think this is actually one of the first books that was in a review wrap up. That's kind of funny. Yeah, so this might have been one of the first ones that I put in a review or a wrap up video. And at the time I was like, let me go and see everybody else's opinion on Women's War. And it was like only 2, maybe 3 people had made a video about this at the time. And then that was it. That was the only video they made on their channel, which is, again, totally fine. But I didn't have anybody else to talk to about it. I did find some people who wrote book blogs, and I really loved what they had to say. Granted, I didn't totally read this critically the first go. I think if I reread it, I would be a little bit more critical of reading it. But just for a good ride that also had me crying, pissing, farting, dying at the ending, this ending killed me 100%. And the series as a whole, I really like it. I need more people to read this. So I do feel like this got hype in the beginning. Like back when I first was on booktube, a lot of people that I followed at the time talked about this series. So it's not to say that it's never gotten hype. I just feel like, it's been some years. We've all read some other adult fantasy books. I think we should come back around and read Alchemist of Loom. This series is really, really good. It's about dragons. It's got a cool magic system. It's got really cool characters. It's really, really good. I do think that this deserves either maybe more hype than it got, but also like, let's get hype around this book again. Let's bring it back around, y'all, because this is a good series. And last, so I'm going to say this. I have been slacking on watching booktube. Unfortunately, I apologize. I don't remember seeing a lot of people talk about this. Again, it's okay. I also might have missed it, so don't quote me. But I think that The Ivory Key deserves more hype. I didn't see a lot of people talk about this book. Doesn't mean it didn't happen, but this was fantastic, and I can't wait for the second book. Now, I don't know if this is going to end up being a duology, a trilogy, or a series. If it's a duology, this second book comes out this year, sometime in the summer, I think. And I can't wait. I cannot wait to finish this because it is really, really good. But the Ivy Key, give this a shot. I definitely think it's worth a read. Question 6, a book that is becoming a movie or a TV show. So Skip and Loafer just actually aired its first episode of its anime. This is a series I recommend, by the way. I love this series. It is so cute. It is so wholesome. I think it is great. I highly recommend it. I haven't watched the first episode yet, but I think I will, because I think it's just really cute. And someone actually just reviewed it the other day and said it was awesome. So I definitely, this one, read it, watch it. And then Sakamoto Days is becoming a anime soon. I don't know when, but sometime. This is good. I just got the most recent volume, which is volume 7. I don't know how long the series is going to be, but it has been a really fun read. Also, Hell's Paradise, I think episode 4 is going to be releasing this week. It's worth a watch, in my opinion. I've only gotten to volume 4 of the series. I need to finish it. It's a 13 volume series, but it's good. And that opening song, I get chills. It's just so good. But these two I would recommend. Question 7, a book you have reread the most. So if we're basing it off of all the years I've ever been reading, it still is going to go Laurel K. Hamilton, the Anita Blake series. Like I said, I read this when I was way too young to be reading this kind of content, personally. I think I started picking up these books when I was like 13, 14. This is definitely should be for someone a little bit older. So when I read the first book, it was not the first book. I think it was book number 5. So technically at that point in the series, you could have picked up a book that wasn't the first one. It gives you a pretty decent idea of what's going on, and you're not totally lost. Especially that one. It was Blue Moon, I think, and it didn't have to do with all of her lovers yet. It was just her and Larry. If you've read it, you know what the hell I'm talking about. So then I had to go back, start from the beginning, read all of them, reread the first one I read, which is Blue Moon, and then kept going. I have since reread that series so many times since I've been like 13, 14 years old. What can I say? It got me when I was younger. But yeah, it would have to go to this one. I can't think of any other series that I've reread as many times as I've reread the Anita Blake series. And honestly, I feel it kind of sucks because there's a lot of series that I have that I want to reread. I just feel like I don't have the time because I have so many things I haven't read yet. So I need to do that. I need to carve out some time from some books I've loved from the past but have not picked up recently. But yeah, this my most reread series. Question 8, a book from a genre that you don't typically read. So I don't typically read a lot of stuff with body horror in it. Or extreme stuff, extreme horror books. I've kind of dipped my foot in it a little bit, but I don't know that it's totally for me. But I have had some luck with ones that I really liked. So the name of the book is Leaving Me. I'm so sorry. I'm going to put a picture up, but it's by Kenzie Jennings. That was fantastic read. I think that was the first time I read something that was so extreme, like It's a Cannibal Wedding. That was crazy. That was really good. I don't know that I would really want to recommend. Oh, Nick Cutter, The Troop, that had body horror in it, like think Parasites. Disgusting. I wanted to vomit. And then some other ones that I don't read very often. I don't typically read smut, but I read some Santa smut for Christmas. And you know what? Why not? Do it. It was Santa Claus is Going to Town on Me. That was a crazy read. So yeah, I would say there's some horror that I didn't think that I would like. And there was also some smut. Those are two genres that, I mean, damn, some people combine the shit. Am I right? Like, some people are doing like smutty horror. I don't know if that's I don't think that's for me. But the Kenzie Jennings book, and Santa Claus is Going to Town on Me. I'd recommend it because I had fun reading it. It was worth the read for sure. Question 9, a book that deserves all the hype it gets. So of course, everything I talked about, I think it deserves the hype. But the number one book I think that deserves the hype it gets is Scythe. honestly, this is a really great series. I wish I could read this for the first time all over again. This crushed me so many different times just in the first book. I think it was just a really, really good fucking book. Nice commentary on things. It was hard to read at the time. I was reading this like during a certain person's presidency, so I felt some type of way as I was reading it, you know what I mean? I think it would be even harder to read it now based on the world that we're living in, but I do think that Scythe deserves all the hype it gets. There is like, it's not a novella, but it's like a short story collection kind of it's called Gleanings. I did read some of the short stories that were in there, and it was really interesting, very cool. But yeah, I would recommend this for sure. If you have never read Scythe, the series, you should do it. Question 10, a book you usually recommend when asked to give a recommendation. So pretty much everything I already said, but just to add, I always recommend The Promised Neverland. This series is fantastic. It is a completed series. As far as the anime is concerned, I got into The Promised Neverland after watching the first season. I would not recommend watching the second season. Now, I've not personally watched it, but my friends have told me about the second season, and apparently they left out a huge, like, chunk of important, like, shit that happens in the series. And I think it's Goldie Pond. I think they totally did not add to the second season, which is just crazy to me. But as a manga, this series is fantastic. I highly recommend it. So good. I can't say enough about it. Next would be Noragami. So this is almost completed. The newest volume is volume 26, and I think that comes out in September. It comes out this year, and I'm sad to see this series end. This is also an anime. Watch it if you haven't. Read this if you haven't, because it is really worth reading, in my opinion. The story is really good. I've had some sad moments. I love the characters. I don't want my time with these characters to end, but of course I can reread it if that's the case. Question 11, a book that has your favorite characters in it. Every single one. I'm sorry. I can't choose, even from the pile that I have beside me that I've already spoken about. Like like I said, I've been very fortunate, especially within the last few years, to read books that I've genuinely loved, and the characters that I love them. It's hard to choose. I can't even choose one. I mean, Gilded Wolves is a series I really love. The Throne of Glass series, I really love the witches in that one. They're my favorite. I love Lysandra. I love everybody in Scoop and Loafer. I love everybody in, well, I love all of the characters from the Women's War, even the one that is not good. Like, I just absolutely loved that series. So yeah, pretty much every single thing that I've already mentioned. And if you watch any review video, I pretty much love every single character in most of the books that I read. Question 12, a book you wish you could live in. So hear me out first though. Okay, so this is a cozy mystery series, which means that somebody dies in it. I don't want to live in this world because of the death. I want to live in this world because of the food, and that would be the Noodle Shop Mystery. I want to be friends with Lana. I want to be friends with Kimmy. I want to be at the I want to be at the restaurant. I want to hang out with Megan at the bar. Like, I want to eat the food that's at the restaurant. So yes, take away the murder, and I don't want to be on the chopping block now. But I love everybody, and that's the greatest part about cozy mystery books, right? Is that you can really fall in love with the characters that are in the series because you see them, you know, time after time, and I love them, and I mean, you know, I don't think I could ever live in a big city, but Lana makes it seem really fun. So I would choose what's going on in the Noodle Shop Mystery series. I would want to live and hang out with everyone, just not die. Question 13, a book you thought you would hate but ended up loving. So I was so convinced I would hate The Cruel Prince. I don't know what the whole series is called. It might be The Cruel Prince trilogy by Holly Black. I read it as almost like a joke to myself, because I was like, I feel like I'm kind of over, you know, the YA fantasy thing at that moment. I didn't think I was in the mood for it. And The Cruel Prince, that whole series, every single person I watched at booktube at the time talked about it, loved it. It had so much hype. And I wasn't like not wanting to read it because it had so much hype. That wasn't it. I just didn't think I would like it. I devoured that series. That was such a good trilogy. Because here's the thing. It is what it is, right? It gives what it's supposed to give for young adult fantasy. Now a lot of people said it had like spice, and it's not a romance. It's definitely not a romance. And maybe that's what it was. I think that there was so much confusion going around about, like, when people put this on a list, right? Sometimes they would put that on like a, you can tell me if I'm wrong, but I swear I saw some people say that it was smutty, and I'm like, I wasn't necessarily wanting to read that at the time, which is fine. But yeah, I really didn't think I was gonna like that series, and I ended up loving it. It was really, really good. Question 14, a book that made you cry. So I have not finished all of One Piece, but One Piece has made me cry several times. The Whale, what happened, one of the things that happened in Skypiea. So, I mean, you meet characters in the series that, Go. There's so many things that have happened so far, and I just finished Water 7 that are really, really good. Overall, One Piece has definitely shown me that I see why people love One Piece. I do. Another series that made me cry that's a manga is Demon Slayer. I cried at almost every volume because when you see the backstory for some of the demons, it hurts. It hurts so much. The creator of Demon Slayer did not care about killing some of your favorite people, about maiming some of your favorite people. It was hard. A lot of people die in Demon Slayer. You know, nothing that's a spoiler. Everybody knows about Rengoku. That was the first hard situation, right? It gets worse if you haven't read it and you haven't continued to watch. It's so sad. Kingdom of Ash by Sarah J. Maas. That fucked me up on a vacation. I don't know why I decided to read that almost 1,000-page book on vacation, but the stuff that happens with the witches, I was fucked. I was screaming. Yeah, there's so many books that have made me cry. I mean, at this age, I cry pretty easily. I'm not gonna lie. I cried several times this morning just watching TikTok. It happens. But yeah. One Piece. Read this. And question 15, a book that you wish you could read for the first time. Everything. Honestly, there's so many books I wish I could read for the first time. Like I said, I wish I could reread, or I wish I could read Feed for the first time all over again, Scythe for the first time all over again, Women's War for the first time all over again. Oh my God, there's so many. There's so many to choose from. I have so many books that I really loved, and same thing with some manga. Like, I wish I could experience that all over again, but definitely the regular, like, books that I've read, some of them are just so good. Same thing with Foundry Side, which was interesting. I read that, I think in, shit, I don't even know what year I read that. But when I reread it again, I forgot a lot of stuff. So it was like reading it for the first time. And that was a fun experience. So, I loved it. It was awesome. So thank you so much. That is my video. I appreciate it. If you like the video, please like the video. If you like and subscribe, hit the notification bell. Follow me on other social media. It's all in the description box below. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Thanks for sticking by me, y'all. Thanks for sticking by with all these damn hauls I do, because you know I'm fixing to film another one because April's almost over. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Have a good day. Goodbye.